Have you ever heard the ground breathe? At Hverir in Iceland, the earth doesn't just steam, bubble and crack. It looks alive. The soil smokes, the mud pulses, the air burns with sulfur, and the longer you stare at it, the more one question starts to grow in your mind. What exactly is moving beneath your feet? In northern Iceland, near Lake Mývatn and the volcanic slopes of Namafjall, there is a place that feels less like a landscape and more like an exposed wound in the planet. Hverir geothermal area does not welcome you with calm beauty. It confronts you. The ground is painted in sick yellows, deep rust reds, pale greys, and black scars, as if the earth has been cooked, peeled back, and left open to the air. Steam rises in thick white columns from cracks in the soil. Mud pots swell and burst with slow, heavy breaths. Even before you understand what you are looking at, your body already reacts to it like danger. And that feeling is not an illusion. Hverir is not just strange to look at. It is physically dangerous. Step off the marked path, and what seems like dry crust could collapse over boiling mud or superheated ground. The surface here lies. It can look solid while hiding extreme heat just below it. That is what makes this place so disturbing. It is not a dead field of volcanic leftovers. It is active, restless, unfinished. Hverir feels like standing on top of something that has not decided whether it wants to stay underground. One of the most mind-blowing things about Hverir is that the landscape is constantly being built and destroyed by invisible forces. Water seeps down into the ground, gets heated by volcanic energy deep below, then rises back up loaded with gases and minerals. When that hot water meets the surface, it hisses, steams, and transforms the earth around it. The bubbling mud is not random. It is the visible result of heat, pressure, gas, and groundwater colliding just beneath a thin skin of clay. What looks alive is really geology under stress. But that almost makes it more terrifying, not less. Then there is the color. Hverir looks painted by something hostile, but those colors are real chemical evidence. Sulfur stains the ground yellow. Iron and oxidation spread orange and red across the hills. Dark grey and black areas come from volcanic ash, wet clay, and altered minerals cooked by heat for years. Nothing here is decorative. Every color is a reaction. Every stain is proof that the chemistry of the earth is happening right in front of you. It looks like an alien world, but it is actually a rare chance to see the planet exposing its internal processes on the surface. The mud pots are what make the place feel truly alive. They do not behave like normal water. They groan, they thicken, they bulge upward as if something underneath is trying to push through. A bubble forms slowly, stretches the surface, then bursts with a heavy, wet sound before the whole pool sinks back into itself. Then it happens again, and again, and again. Watching one for too long feels wrong, because your brain starts reading the motion as biological. Not like weather, not like water, like a pulse, like breathing, like the landscape has a heartbeat made of heat. And the sound matters too. Hverir does not just look alive, it sounds alive. Steam vents hiss from the ground like pressure escaping from giant lungs. Mud pops in deep, sticky bursts. Wind drags the smell of sulfur across the field until the whole area feels like a warning system built from gas and sound. Have you ever heard a place before you fully saw it? Hverir is one of those places. The sound reaches you first, and by the time your eyes catch up, your mind is already preparing for something hostile. The smell is another part of the experience that people never forget. That rotten egg odor comes from hydrogen sulfide, one of the gases released by geothermal areas. It turns the entire landscape into something you do not just observe. You physically endure it. That is part of what makes Hverir unforgettable. It attacks more than your vision. Your nose, your throat, your instincts all start telling you the same thing. This is not ordinary ground. This is an active chemical battlefield between the surface world and the heat below. What makes that even more mind-blowing is where Iceland sits on Earth. This island exists in one of the most geologically unstable places on the planet, where powerful tectonic forces and volcanic systems help keep immense heat unusually close to the surface. In most parts of the world, the violence inside the Earth stays hidden deep below rock layers so thick and quiet that people forget it is there. In Iceland, that violence leaks upward. Hverir is what happens when the planet does a bad job hiding its inner machinery. It is not a metaphorical window into Earth's power. It is a literal one. And that is why almost nothing soft and green thrives here. The soil in Hverir is too acidic in places, too mineral heavy, too thermally hostile for normal plant life to spread comfortably across it. That absence changes the emotional feeling of the landscape. There are no comforting trees, no lush cover, no sign that life has settled in and made peace with the terrain. The place feels raw, stripped down, chemically aggressive. Not dead, worse than dead. Active, but not built for anything human. Halfway through standing in Hverir, the real question begins to change. At first, you ask why this ground looks alive. But then the question becomes more disturbing. If heat, gas, pressure, minerals, and water can create something this expressive, then how many places on Earth only look calm because their violence is still hidden? Hverir forces that thought into your head. Because here, the line between living motion and geological motion becomes thin enough to feel psychologically unstable. You know it is not a creature, but your instincts keep treating it like one. And this is where its impact on modern life becomes impossible to ignore. Hverir is not just a bizarre tourist site in Iceland. It is the exposed face of the same geothermal power that shapes modern Icelandic life every day. The underground heat that makes this landscape hiss, steam and boil is part of the reason Iceland can heat homes, supply hot water, and build so much of its identity around geothermal energy. In other words, Hverir is not separate from modern civilization. It is civilization's eerie reminder of where that power comes from. The same force that can make the Earth look monstrous can also keep an entire society warm. It also changes how people think about danger. Hverir teaches a brutal lesson that applies far beyond Iceland. The most dangerous landscapes are not always the loudest ones. Some do not explode. Some do not collapse dramatically. Some simply sit there, steaming, while the threat hides inches below the crust. Scientists study places like this to understand hydrothermal systems, volcanic warning signs, chemical alteration of rocks, and how energy moves from deep underground to the surface. Tourists come for the visuals. Researchers come for the process. But both leave with the same realization. The ground is not as trustworthy as it looks. That is why Hverir stays with people. Not because it is beautiful in a normal way, but because it breaks one of your deepest assumptions about the world. Ground is supposed to support you. Here, it threatens you. Soil is supposed to be still. Here, it shivers and exhales. A landscape is supposed to sit in the background. Here, it behaves like the main character. And once your brain accepts that, every steam vent starts to feel like breath. Every mud pot starts to feel like an organ. And every patch of crust starts to feel like skin stretched over heat. So why does this ground look alive? Because it is being shaped in real time, by forces your eyes almost never get to witness this closely. Because boiling water, Trapped gases, volcanic heat, mineral reactions, and unstable crust are all interacting just below the surface. Because Hverir is one of those rare places where the Earth stops acting like a quiet platform for life and briefly reveals itself as a living system of pressure and motion. Not alive in the biological sense, but active enough, expressive enough, and dangerous enough to trigger the same ancient fear. If this place made you question what ground is supposed to look like this video and subscribe to Off the Map. Because some places do not just look unnatural, they feel like the planet is watching you back. And next, we stay in Iceland, but the danger changes shape. Reynisfjara Black Sand Beach, Iceland. Why is this beach so dangerous? It looks like one of the most beautiful coastlines on Earth. But the waves there do not move like an invitation. They move like a trap.